Okay, I am going to attempt to make gingerbread men using the gingerbread people recipe from the Simmy Christmas Fakeaway book. Start off with, I've measured out my sugar, 175 grams of sugar, into the pan that I'm going to melt the sugar and syrup in, which is the first thing we need to do. So to the sugar, I'm going to add 85 grams of golden syrup. Never made this recipe before, so this is a big excitement for me. You're getting to see me make it first time, absolutely no practice. Okay, so 85 grams of golden syrup to the sugar, and then to that we're going to add in the butter, and we need 100 grams of butter. So what I like about these butter packs is they actually come with a little measuring thing on them, so you can guess how much 100 is going to be. So I'm just going to do it at little 50 gram blocks, just to start off with. And that didn't work. In a second. Okay. Almost, just one more. Sometimes you get them and they don't line up, which is what's happened to here. So I'm now having to just hack away at it. Right. Maybe Neil can edit this out. Okay, so 100 grams of butter added to the sugar ingredients, and now all we have to do is melt it. So I'm just going to light the hob ring. And get a gentle process of lighting it. You need to make sure you don't burn it, I'm sure. I think what I'm going to do is what my home economics teacher taught me, which is to cut it into the sugar to make it a bit quicker. Try and get it to melt. I noticed when I was on Facebook, there was some people who had already made gingerbread houses. It was quite impressive. I think if I get gingerbread people sorted, I'll be quite happy to learn from some people how to make a gingerbread house. It looks quite a feat of engineering. Just checking the recipe. Turn it up a little bit. I say it's my first time doing this, so I have no idea what it's going to be like. But it is starting to melt, albeit very, very, very slowly. Okay, that's most of the butter cut down. So now I'm just gonna back to having my spoon. Melt it with the spoon. It's melting quite nicely. Da, 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 da. So there's a lot of waiting in this recipe. So I noticed that once I do this, I've got to leave it to cool for 10 minutes. Some of that will be making up the dry ingredients. Okay. Almost there. Oh, look at that, it melted. I didn't think it was going to, but it's great. Cooking blind. Very good. Well, I think that is well and truly melted. So it says to leave it for, let it bubble for 1 to 2 minutes, and then leave it cool for 10 minutes. So let's just let it bubble for a little bit longer. Smells great. Oh, it's really bubbling now. That's the start of it bubbling. It smells a bit like making treacle scones. Oh, it's definitely bubbling away now. That's been 1 minute. I'll boil for 1 more minute. I think this is like when we're back at the club and asking, guess how long a minute is and put their hand up. Now I understand why you find that difficult. That is quite hard work. See if I can guess how long a minute is. Nope. See how long a minute is. Wow, that's amazing. Oh, 5 more seconds. Okay, so this now needs to leave to cool for about 10 minutes. So I'm just going to put a little 10-minute timer on so I can forget all about that. And I'll get on to making up the dry ingredients. So we're done with this. Okay, for the dry ingredients then, we need flour. So we need 350 grams of flour. Let's make sure this is on. Turn it back to 0. And I'll get my little flour mix measurer. Okay, so so 350 grams of plain white flour, slightly over. Okay. Some bicarbonate soda to help it rise without having any yeast. And then for the lovely spices. Oh, hold on, it's a teaspoon, not a half teaspoon. Okay, so a tablespoon of ginger. Nice and gingery. I like the taste of ginger, so. And a teaspoon of cinnamon. I do love cinnamon as well. Okay, teaspoon of cinnamon. And just going to mix that together. Ready to put the warm syrup mixture in once it's been cooled for long enough. However, we're also going to add in an egg, so I'm just going to break an egg into a cup, give that a mix up. Just one egg. Yep. Let's just give that a good beating. Something's going a bit wrong there. Okay. Right, so is everything ready now? Just waiting for the warm mixture to cool down. And while I'm doing that then, once we have got it all mixed together, we need to tip it out onto some cling film. So I'm just going to move everything over. Done with these. And I'll put out my cling film ready to put the mixture in once I've finished mixing it together. Cling film is not plain. Would say we need a Blue Peter. Here's one I made earlier, but apparently nobody watches Blue Peter anymore, or very few people have been watching Blue Peter of late. But if you know what Blue Peter is. Okay, and I'm just going to get my wee bowl, just to make it easy to tip it into. No, I'm not. I'm just going to put it straight. Okay, that's that ready for when we need to wrap it up. Okay, so nothing to do now for 5 minutes. I think I'll go have a cup of tea. Okay, right, it's getting ready to the time to start putting the stuff in. Just going to give this another stir around. Okay, that's just ready for our sugar. Just stop off the timer and make a little well in the centre. Just drop that in. Okay. Oh, nice and gooey, look at that. Get on some tight ice cream, that would make me happy. Okay, so I've got the warm mixture in, and I'm going to tip my egg in as well. There. Oh, it smells fabulous. Just start folding it in. It's looking really good. Is to knead it in the bowl. Gently knead it in the bowl until it's smooth and straight free. Okay. Right, that's me got pretty much all the flour in. The rest will come in when I start kneading it with my hands. So that's that done. Just get the excess bits off. And just roll up my sleeves. At this point, you could give you some tips on kneading techniques and make some amazing bread. I'm just kind of folding it over being too rough with it because it says gentle. And I presume by streak free they mean you won't be seeing any more white of the flour. So a wee bit more to go. It's getting there. Okay, well I think that looks pretty streak free. So I'm now going to tip it onto my cling film. And I'm going to wrap it in its cling film. Okay. And this is going to oven 30 minutes. So, go in the oven, sorry, it's going in the fridge for 30 minutes. Well, just a chill. I think I'll leave it to sit out for 5 minutes to cool and then I'll put it in the fridge because I don't want to make all my stuff in the fridge warm up too much because I've got quite a lot of things in there for dinner and stuff. Okay, so we leave it for 5 minutes, then another 5 minutes and put it in the fridge, and that should be nice and firm and cool, ready for the next part. When I do that first 5 minutes, I'll also put the oven on at that point to heat the oven to go on at 200 degrees or 180 degrees fan, gas mark 6. So I'll come back in 5 minutes and start lining the trays and put this in the fridge. Okay, see you in 5 minutes. I have brought the gingerbread out of the fridge and I've left it to sit for a few minutes just till it gets back up to room temperature as per the instructions. And I have prepared 2 baking trays. So one using the instructions it says in here, which is to line it with parchment paper, but because I don't normally use parchment paper, I am trying it a different way, which is I take a bit of the wrapper of my butter, rub it all over the tray and then lightly dust it with some flour. But as I've never made this before, I don't know if that's going to lead to it being sticking. However, we'll give it a go and see how it does. So, you can start by rolling out my gingerbread, ready for my gingerbread cutter. So, I presume I flour the surface. If you've made this before, you don't flour a surface, don't flour a surface then. I am learning. Okay, just move these over. Okay, so to roll it, oh, it's quite a thick dough. To roll it out to the side, to the thickness of a £1 coin. I don't actually have a £1 coin, but I'm going to try and remember how thick that is. Just a bit thinner than that. I've got quite a big gingerbread man cutter, so I am going to nice big long shape. And by magic, a £1 coin has appeared. So, oh, it's quite thin, it needs to go, so I'm going to go a bit thinner still. It's not that easy to move it, I have to say. So I'm just having to kind of work it, not turning it around like I would do with pastry. Okay, let's give that another little test. Yeah, I'd say that's right. Okay, so now to cut out my gingerbread men. Try and get quite close to the top. Down, move it around. Lift it up. And this one can go in the parchment paper. And this one I'll do onto my prepared tray. Not going to be able to get many of these on these trays. I think it's going to be just a few at a time. So I do know, because of my auntie, that you can actually make this gingerbread dough and you can put it in the freezer. So if you've got quite a lot of it, of the ingredients, and you think, well, I would like to make this, but I'm not necessarily going to have time when I go back to school or work, you can actually make some up, put it in the cling film, and then put it in the freezer. And then take it out the day before or the night before, let it cool down, and then you can put it, get to this stage from there. And apparently, allegedly, I just read, it actually is a bit easier to work with once it's been in the freezer and defrosted. So I might try that next as well. I think I could get into this. Okay, so my gingerbread men. Okay, just checking if there's anything else I'm supposed to do. Okay, so 7 is as many as I can get on at this size. And I'm just going to group everything else together. Knead it up again, and then I'll have more dough to make up some more gingerbread men. But in the meantime, I'm going to put these in the oven. I had the oven on for 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, so that's my first one in. And my second one in. Put it on for 10 minutes to start off with, and you can check it in 10 minutes. Okay, so see you in 10 minutes. Oh, it's the oven, excellent. Okay, so I put it on for 10 minutes. I'm just going to check and see if they need another couple of minutes or not. I think they are fine, so I'm going to take them out. And then we need to leave them at room temperature. Now, the ones on the parchment paper have stayed exactly where they should be. And the ones on the flour and butter have indeed moved about a wee bit, and they're now holding hands and feet. So if you're doing the butter and flour method, leave a bit more room between them. But yeah, they're looking great. So all I need to do now is leave them to cool so that I can move them onto the wire tray to cool properly, and then I'll ice them. Unlike you, I do not have any of the little icing sugar things. So I'm just about to make myself some icing sugar and a sandwich bag that will allow me to then decorate my lovely men. It looks quite good. Excellent. Okay, so my gingerbread men have been cooling on the tray. So I've now just lifted them off, and I'm going to put them on a wire tray. Normally I would use the bit out of the grill, but since Neil started baking, we now have wire trays. So I'm just going to put them on there. So that's the easy bit done. Now it's over to you to decorate your gingerbread men. I've made my icing. I'm going to start doing mine, but I look forward to seeing what creations you come up with. You can decorate them however you want.